For 2 years, Amber Morey had nightmares about a young woman named Stacy. In 2017, Amber's dreams came true when she was chosen to adopt Stacy's baby. Tara Lynn Lee, who owned Always Hope Pregnancy Center, facilitated the adoption, but it had not been a smooth process. Tara did not allow communication between the two women and withheld a lot of details about Stacy and the baby. Amber never saw a single photo or scan and was severely anxious that Stacy would change her mind about placing her baby for adoption. But Tara assured her everything would be fine. Amber flew from Arizona to Michigan for Stacy's birth. Days passed with no word from Stacy, even after her due date. Amber confided in Tara that she had thought about searching dumpsters in Detroit in case the baby had been abandoned, but Tara didn't seem worried. Eventually, Tara told Amber that Stacy had probably decided to keep the baby. Amber returned home and stood in the empty nursery she had worked so hard on, without a baby. For 2 years, Amber would continue to wonder and worry about Stacy and her child, until the truth finally came out. Tara Lynn Lee grew up in Mount Clemens, Michigan, a town just north of Detroit. In 2002, at age 21, Tara and her high school sweetheart Jeremy welcomed their first daughter. The couple got married shortly after. In 2005, Tara was arrested for writing a series of bad checks to local jewelry stores and Costco's. She pleaded guilty and was ordered to repay $22,000 to 17 different businesses. Later that year, she wrote a bad check for a snowmobile and pleaded guilty again. She also had another daughter that year, then gave birth to her son in 2007. In 2012, Tara and Jeremy adopted 2 children. In 2015, Tara opened Always Hope Pregnancy and Education Center. According to Tara's LinkedIn page, Always Hope was a quote, non-profit pregnancy outreach center. We help all pregnant women sort through all available options with their unborn child. We also assist with private adoptions and adoption classes and education. But the majority of Tara's work was private adoptions. The private sector adoption and child welfare service industry in the United States generates an estimated $19 billion a year in revenue. A private adoption typically costs between $30,000 and $45,000. Adoptive parents need to cover legal fees, court documentation fees, home studies, background checks, counseling, and medical expenses for the birth parents, and other expenses that come with preparing to welcome a child. Laws around adoption are strict. It is illegal to directly give a birth parent money to adopt their child, so adoption agencies act as a bridge in the process. Adoption agencies are required to keep records of birth parents' expenses with all the receipts, so everything can be reimbursed by the adoptive parents accurately. In 2015, Tara was investigated by the state of Michigan for operating an unlicensed adoption agency. She insisted that she was only taking birth moms to appointments and arranging clothing donations, so it was concluded she wasn't violating the law. However, more complaints were made about Always Hope, and the state ordered Tara to obtain a license, but she never applied for one. Tara told families that she was a trained doula and that she had a master's degree in social work. These qualifications allowed her to charge extra fees for assisting with birth mothers, labor, and delivery, as well as for counseling. Tara controlled all the communication between expecting mums and adoptive families. She did not allow the two sides to contact each other directly. She always included herself on group text chats and would come along to in-person meetings. It is estimated that 2 million American families are seeking to adopt a baby, but only 20,000 women a year place their babies up for adoption. Both parties are usually highly emotional, vulnerable, and sometimes desperate, which gave Tara immense power over the people she worked with. Kyle and Adam Bells Thomas dreamed of starting a family together, but faced discrimination from adoption agencies because they were a same-sex couple. In January 2017, they met Tara Lynn Lee through a friend of a friend. She agreed to help Kyle and Adam find a birth mother for a fee of $25,000. In April, Tara gave Kyle and Adam the good news. A young pregnant woman named Angel had chosen them to adopt her baby. Kyle and Adam attended Angel's ultrasound appointments and paid for her housing, food, and medical bills, but the payments always went through Tara. On June 23rd, Angel gave birth to a boy. Kyle and Adam rushed to the hospital, signed the adoption papers, and named the boy Maxwell, and became fathers that day. 7 months later, Tara called Kyle and Adam to inform them that Angel was pregnant again, and that she wanted them to adopt this baby too. Kyle and Adam were not ready for another child, but Tara pressured and guilt-tripped them, so the couple agreed and wrote her a check for $10,000. They started making preparations for their second baby, then gave Tara an additional $3,000 for Angel's expenses. A few months later, Tara told the couple that Angel was backing out of the adoption. The couple was shattered, but Tara soon found another birth mom for them. This time, she charged them $20,000 as a match fee, and then another $15,000 for the birth mom's expenses. During this time, Tara and Kyle became close, texting almost daily. Kyle noticed that Tara had a taste for luxury fashion. She always wore expensive jewellery and carried designer bags that were not often seen in their town. In October 2017, Kyle and Adam were hit with a sickening sense of deja vu as Tara informed them that the adoption fell through. However, she soon found them another match and asked them for a further $5,000. Kyle and Adam sent over the money before Tara stopped returning their calls and messages. Kyle went against the rules and decided to contact the birth parents directly to find out what was going on. The birth parents were very confused and explained they had already chosen a different family to adopt their baby. Courtney and Curtis Edmond of Denver, Colorado, had 4 biological children, but wanted to keep growing their family. Courtney's pregnancies had all been difficult, and it would be too dangerous for her to fall pregnant again, so the couple began to look into adoption. In 2017, Courtney found Always Hope through Facebook. She took an immediate liking to Tara. Tara was charismatic, personable, and a little rough around the edges, which contrasted the somewhat clinical approach other adoption agencies had. Tara was an adoptive mother herself, which made her very relatable. Courtney and Curtis were overjoyed when Tara told them the birth mother had chosen them to adopt her baby. They weren't allowed to contact each other, but Courtney did find the birth mom on Facebook and grew concerned when she saw her posts. The birth mom was posting photos of baby clothes and other products, which led Courtney to believe she wasn't planning to give up the baby. Courtney raised her concerns to Tara and considered pulling out of the adoption, but Tara would get extremely angry and pressured her to go through with it. During this time, Tara was asking Courtney to send money almost daily to cover the birth parents' expenses. In November, the Edmonds flew to Michigan for the birth of the baby. They got to meet the birth mom, hold the baby, and take photos. They called their family with the exciting news. That very night, Tara told the Edmonds that the birth mom had changed her mind. Courtney was completely distraught and wanted to go straight home, but Tara convinced her to stay in case the birth mom had another change of heart. Curtis flew home, and Courtney ended up staying at Tara's home for 10 days. Courtney described those 10 days to Opportunist Podcast as falling under the quote, Tara trance. She became close friends with Tara and even began working for her. Tara asked her to call other families who went through failed adoptions to console them and share her own experience. Courtney also drove Tara around and witnessed firsthand Tara's shopping habits. Sales assistants at high-end jewelry stores all knew Tara by name, and she would buy Louis Vuitton bags without checking the price tags. In December, Courtney got matched with another birth mother, Shakira. This time, Courtney decided to go against Tara's rule and communicate with the birth mom directly. She was horrified to learn that the thousands of dollars she was paying to Tara had not reached Shakira. Courtney wanted to help furnish Shakira's apartment and make sure she had all the necessities, but Shakira sent photos of a bare home with a mattress on the floor. She had no kitchen appliances and was storing her food in the snow outside. Shakira also revealed that she was absolutely terrified of Tara. Courtney had been growing suspicious of Tara, but the truth was still shocking. Tara had always emphasized how much she loved and cared for the birth mothers she worked with. Tara painted herself as a selfless savior who had dedicated her life to helping vulnerable women. But the truth was, Tara was taking advantage of these women. Courtney started sharing her concerns about Tara and Always Hope on Facebook, where she met Julie Falkenberry. Julie had suffered 4 miscarriages and a stillbirth, so she and her husband Jake decided to look into adoption. She came across Always Hope in 2016 and was impressed by Tara Lynn Lee's qualifications and how much she cared about the birth mothers. Julie felt a further connection when Tara confided that she had suffered 2 stillbirths herself. The Falkenberrys took out a loan against their home, dipped into their savings, and held a church fundraiser for the $20,000 adoption fee. After the payment was made, it suddenly became much harder to get in contact with Tara for updates. The only time Tara would get in touch was to ask for money. Julie was not allowed to directly contact the birth mother, who was supposedly a drug addict and sex worker. But in October 2017, a few days before the due date, Tara called with an update. The doctors had discovered a genetic abnormality that caused the baby to be very underdeveloped. 2 days later, Tara called again with the news that the baby was born but only lived for 45 minutes. In the months that passed, Julie's grief and devastation turned into suspicion and anger. She went on Facebook to discover many others who had similar tragic experiences with Tara. There had been some legitimate successful adoptions, so Tara would often make adoptive families give their testimonies in promotional videos, which she posted across social media. Families all across the country were fooled into handing over significant amounts of money to Tara for adoption fees and birth parent expenses, only for the adoptions to fail. Refunds were rarely issued. Julie Falkenberry and Courtney Edmond joined forces with Sarah Scott, who had spent $24,000 on 2 failed adoptions, and the 3 women started collecting stories from other victims. One of the most shocking stories was an unnamed couple from Georgia. Just days before the birth mother's due date, Tara called them hysterically crying and told them that the birth mum had been fatally shot and the baby passed away on the way to the hospital. Tara then asked the couple to make a donation to the funeral fund. In October 2018, Julie tracked down the 2 adoption lawyers who worked with Always Hope, Tonya Corrado and Talia Getting. "You should be ashamed of yourself," Julie shouted down the phone to the lawyers. It turned out that Tara had not only fooled scores of birth parents and adoptive families, but she had even tricked her own lawyers. Lawyers she had been working with for close to 3 years. Talia Getting realized she could access Tara's email and started going through years of communications. Maria Pancheco was another lawyer who started working with Always Hope more recently. She was initially skeptical of Julie's allegations, but agreed to help investigate. The 3 lawyers scrutinized records and paperwork and slowly uncovered the shocking truth behind Tara's scheme. They handed over their findings to the FBI, who immediately launched an investigation. There were countless instances where Tara promised the same baby to multiple families. She would spell the birth mother's name slightly different and change up the due dates, collect money from the adoptive parents, then make up a story for why the adoption fell through. Tara also completely fabricated birth mothers and then ran the same scam. The birth mother who had supposedly been shot never existed. Tara had used photos of a complete stranger who had never even been pregnant. Many of these adoptions were kept off the record, hence why the lawyers had no idea this had been occurring. The FBI raided Tara's home on the 9th of November 2018. They seized her laptop, mobile phones, business records, and a stack of adoption profile books that hopeful parents had made. The FBI interviewed birth parents and adoptive parents and began to gain a clear picture of the cruelty Tara exhibited as her greed took over. The Always Hope mission was to support and empower the pregnant women, but Tara was doing the opposite. She preyed on vulnerable women and exploited them. One of Tara's former assistants revealed that Tara would regularly recruit pregnant women from methadone clinics and homeless shelters. She would promise to take care of them and help find their baby a better home. Tara would lie and tell the expectant woman that they would be allowed to see their child at any time. This was not true. Unless an arrangement had been agreed upon, the biological mother has 0 rights to the child once the adoption papers are finalized. Mariah Day worked as a house cleaner for Tara. She became pregnant at age 19 and wasn't sure whether she should keep the baby. Tara manipulated Mariah under the guise of giving her counseling. She convinced Mariah that she wasn't fit to be a mother and that adoption would be best for the baby. Mariah went through with the adoption, but later came to regret the decision and still struggles with how Tara exploited her. Investigators found that there were several birth mothers who had been neglected by Tara. She had left women in bug-infested motel rooms, failed to pay utility bills, and made some women live in her assistant's basement. One birth mum was forced to take her 2 young children on a 26-hour bus ride from Florida to Michigan, then had to stay in a small hotel room before she ultimately decided to keep her baby. That same woman's pregnancy photos were used with her face cropped out to trick several families. Tara also claimed to be a doula and even performed medical examinations on some pregnant women. Because she was not actually qualified, it could be argued this was sexual assault. It was discovered that Tara had recently started sending money directly to a birth mother named Angelica Wiggins, which is illegal. The FBI analyzed Angelica's phone records and discovered that she was a drug addict who was not pregnant. Tara had paid her to pose as a birth mother and made her FaceTime and even meet up with adoptive parents. John Crouch and his wife spent over $33,000 on adoption fees, Angelica's food and bills, and even a new fridge for her. The Crouches never received proof that Angelica was pregnant. In fact, she would often get her own supposed due date wrong. Angelica later pleaded guilty to wire fraud and was sentenced to 21 months in prison and ordered to pay $106,000 in restitution. Tara was obviously motivated by money, but it is unclear why she felt the need to exhibit unnecessary cruelty by leading people on for months and fabricating horrific stories about birth mothers. She allowed many people to become emotionally invested in their future baby, knowing there would be no adoption in the end. She sought out pregnant women in their most vulnerable moments and exploited them. On the 11th of January 2019, Tara Lynn Lee was arrested and later charged with 23 counts of wire fraud and 1 count of aggravated identity theft. The news of her arrest was shocking to many of the families she had worked with. Over the course of the 2-month FBI investigation, Tara had denied any wrongdoing and attributed the accusations to the vengeful would-be parents whose adoptions failed. She even rang couples she scammed for emotional support. Over the course of about 4 years, Tara had made $2.1 million through Always Hope. She had defrauded 160 people and facilitated only 24 successful adoptions. She had also organized various fundraisers over the years and appealed for gifts and donations, but victims believe she collected all the proceeds for herself. Investigators had discovered close to $400,000 worth of designer handbags, jewellery, shoes, and other accessories in Tara's home. She had spent $45,000 on a kitchen renovation, $26,000 on a holiday, and $13,000 on boats. Tara also did not hold a master's degree in social work. The framed diploma that she displayed was a forgery. In February, Tara was released on a $10,000 bond, with strict orders not to use any electronic devices or attempt to communicate with any of the birth or adoptive parents. She was also prohibited from doing any work related to adoption, pregnancy, or counseling. However, local news network WXYZ's cameras caught Tara using her mobile phone, and she was arrested again. In August 2019, 38-year-old Tara pleaded guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud and admitted to making up fake birth mothers and matching multiple adoptive families with the same birth mother. At the sentencing hearing, Judge Bernard Friedman allowed the victims in attendance to take their time addressing the court. 15 people spoke and the hearing lasted nearly 5 hours. The victims described the immense heartbreak inflicted by Tara and also made passionate calls to reform the adoption system. Amber Morey, the woman who had nightmares over the disappearance of birth mother Stacy, asked Tara directly, "Did Stacy even exist?" Tara paused before she replied, "In my heart she did." Judge Friedman described Tara's actions as evil and called her adoption fraud scheme the worst case he had ever seen. He went on to say that she had ruined people's lives for generations and that she deserved a life sentence, but he couldn't give her one. Tara Lynn Lee was sentenced to 10 years in prison and $1 million in restitution. She was also ordered to read out loud 40 victim impact statements, word for word, with no mistakes, and to record it from her prison in Alabama. In March 2021, the probation department noticed she had overlooked some portions of the statements and made her re-record them all. Early access to videos, discussions, polls, and behind-the-scenes blog posts are all on our Patreon. See you in the next video.